Hey, ladies and gentlemen, alone again, I'm afraid. Hey, I'm Carl Lanning from Brazos River Charter School with This Week in History. Well, let's see what's going on. I mentioned to you last week the Twinkie. Well, the reason being, try to get that out, that on April 5th of 1930, the Twinkie was invented. Now, originally, the Twinkie was filled with a banana cream filling, but due to rationing during World War II, it was changed to the current filling, and the makers decided to leave it that way. Twinkies really gained in popularity in the 1950s when they became a sponsor of the Howdy Doody show. Now, there are a number of urban legends involving the Twinkie, and a lot of them, I think, come from something that was called Project Twinkie, and started in 1995 at Rice University. What you have is a bunch of graduate students in various engineering and science classes that, as they were conducting their experiments, what they would do is, as the last test, substitute a Twinkie. So if you were testing the tensile strength of various metals, you would test the tensile strength of a Twinkie as your very last experiment. A short summary of what they discovered about the Twinkie is that they do not burn well unless doused in alcohol, and then they provide a quite good and long-lasting fire. They make excellent insulators. They do not conduct electricity. They can survive a 6-story fall undamaged, and when microwaved, they emit a great deal of smoke and smell terrible. Now, as to the legendary shelf life of the Twinkie, what the Rice students discovered was that the 45 days that the maker says is about right. One student decided to try a Twinkie after 90 days, and in the paper that he submitted to his professor, said it was a mistake that he greatly regretted. So, the Twinkie. On April the 10th of 1976, President Gerald Ford was involved in what became known as the Tamale Incident. President Ford was campaigning for the presidency to be elected in his own right in 1976. He visited San Antonio, and if you visit San Antonio, you have to go to the Alamo. He did. While he was there, a plate of tamales was produced, and he was offered one. He took it, but nobody bothered to tell the president that you had to remove the corn shuck first. Apparently, the president nearly choked. He was safe, obviously, but it was a little touchy there for a moment. Ford seems to have been cursed in his public life. His private life was entirely different. Gerald Ford was a male model. He served in the United States Navy as a navigator on board an aircraft carrier, quite successfully, too. He was an Eagle Scout. He's our only president to have been an Eagle Scout. If you know anything about scouting, that is not easy. He may have been the greatest athlete that we've ever had in the White House. Gerald Ford was a star player at the University of Michigan on a 2-time national championship football team. He was recruited by the Chicago Bears and by the Green Bay Packers. Unfortunately, what people do seem to remember is his very famous fall down the slippery steps of Air Force One, along with a few other odds and ends. He once hit a spectator with a golf tee shot in the head, I believe. He suffered an injury while skiing. I think it caused a blood clot. I'm not entirely sure about that. Then, of course, came the tamale incident. He also survived 2 attempted assassinations in 17 days, which is absolutely unprecedented. What's also unprecedented about it is that both of the attempted assassins were women. That's Sarah Jane Moore, and that is Squeaky Fromm. She was a member of the Manson family. So I don't believe that Gerald Ford was a bumbler or a klutz or anything like that. I do think that luck did not smile on the man's presidency, though. So Gerald Ford and the tamale incident. Well, then we finally get to Mount Tambora. This is in present-day Indonesia. On April the 10th, 1815, Mount Tambora erupted. This may have been the largest eruption in the last 1,500 years. And ice cores taken from the North and South Poles suggest that this may have put more material into the atmosphere than any other volcanic eruption on record anyway. What it led to was what was called the Year Without a Summer in 1860. Now, there were some other things going on here as well. We were at the tail end of a 3 centuries long, what was called Little Ice Age. But because of all that material that was floating around the atmosphere, in the United States, there were killing frosts reported in June and July in the Midwest. Ice was reported on the rivers and lakes of Pennsylvania throughout the summer, and in mid-June, 20 inches of snow fell across New England. There were famine and food riots across Europe and Asia, and the Aborigines of Australia reported that the sun that year had a cloud around it. So, Mount Tambora. Well, that's it for this week, but to let you know what's coming up next week, we will take a look at the attempted theft of one of the most famous coffins in the world. Thank you for your time. I'm Carl Lanning, Brazos River Charter School, and we look forward to seeing you right here next week.